If you're new to mountain biking, it might seem like an intimidating and complicated sport, but here are 6 ways to improve your riding. I think all sports can be a little bit vain and a little bit intimidating, but I don't think mountain biking is too bad for it. I think we're quite an accepting bunch. Well, I know a lot of people don't really feel like they want to look like they don't know what they're doing, but of course that's the case for everyone when they start mountain biking. But I think you don't have to have the flashiest riding kit or the bikes to fit in. In fact, even pros these days seem to be going back to wearing t-shirts and hoodies when they ride, so you don't need all the gear. But I would say there's a couple of things that you can do to make sure you don't look like a beginner on the trails. Number 1, make sure you've got a properly fitted helmet that covers the brow of your forehead so that it works when you crash. You can get into the snobbery of peak angles later on. I like to run mine fairly high. But just make sure your helmet is fitted properly so you're nice and safe. Number 2, foot position. If you're new to mountain biking, it's more than likely you'll be running flat pedals, but it kind of works for clips as well. It's where you're going to set up your cleats in your shoe. But I quite often see people that are brand new to mountain biking kind of making the mistake of not standing in the right position on their pedals. Sounds simple, but it really affects the way you can move your weight around on the bike. So it will affect sort of how good you are and how quickly you improve. And there's 2 different ways people get it wrong. Is often people stand too far on their toes, so actually kind of all their weight is hanging off their foot and actually going through their calf muscle. And that does make it difficult to move around on the bike. Or the other one is kind of just getting their feet a bit skew-if on the pedals, so you're not going to get decent grip. We could talk about bike setup later on, but just a decent set of flat pedals and a decent set of trainers will work. You don't have to have mountain bike shoes that have the best grip, although they do help, but a decent set of trainers, and get them on so the ball of your foot is almost towards the front of the pedal, so just in front of the axle, I would say. That's going to give you a really solid platform and give you the best grip and help you move your weight around on the bike. Learning how to pedal smoothly sounds like a beginner skill, right? But of course, I'm not really talking about learning to propel your bike forward. What I'm really talking about is tailoring your pedal strokes to the trail. Pushing a cadence, which means how fast you spin the pedals, that suits your exact speed, and that means changing gear all the time. Pushing a slightly slower cadence if you ride flat pedals can help you avoid the obstacles and keep your feet planted directly on the pedals without losing grip. Trying to time your pedal strokes around the trail obstacles. You can sometimes put in half cranks, particularly between corners where you don't have time to spin a whole revolution and get your leading foot back to where you want it to be. It's going to give you a little bit of extra speed. Trying to pre-plan your shifting so that you don't have to change gear under lots of power through the pedals, because that can snap your chain and also lose momentum on the trail. I'm not sure you ever really master grip, but I think becoming a better rider, a big part of that is knowing where to find the grip, or at least trying to predict how much grip you've got, and therefore choosing where to brake, where to corner, and trying to flow down a trail and look for that best grip. Here we've got 2 really nice berms that are really grippy. You can see where I've been riding them, there's a bit of a dark dirt patch on the middle. Kind of a trick of filming is if you go nice and low, like I am here, I'm right on the edge of where it goes from flat to up into the berm, and that's where all the stuff falls down. So in this case, there's kind of loads of pine needles there. And it's kind of a safe place to be, because if I drift at all, I'm gonna drift up into the kind of meat of the berm. That's where I know I've got lots of grip, because I've got, you know, a bigger, steeper part of the berm to basically find the grip on. But also it looks quite cool, because if I'm in the bottom on those pine needles, it will drift a little bit. So I've got a good idea of how much grip I've got. But like I say, it's really hard. It's something you've got to learn, but also it's something about trying not too hard, or trying to turn too hard or brake too hard somewhere where you may not have the grip. Sometimes if I'm unsure about how much grip I have that day in those conditions, I might do a couple of little skids off the trail to try and get a bit of a gauge on how slippy or grippy it is. Obviously, bike setup does play a big part in how much grip you're going to find as well. So if you've got a cross-country bike with lightweight, fast tyres, you're never going to find as much grip as someone with some enduro tyres like I have. So these are nice and soft, big, aggressive tread on here. Pressures as well, I'm running kind of about 23 PSI front, 27, 28 PSI rear. So More set up probably for kind of reliability, so I'm going to ride it hard. Maybe not quite so good for grip. Also even sort of weight balance on the bike. So I like to run my bars fairly low so that my natural position is a little bit further forward. So there's lots of variables when it comes to bike setup for grip, but beginning with your tyres and getting your sag correct in your suspension should give you a nice base. Next up is learning not to pedal, right? I'm that guy contradicting myself. So now we're talking about pumping, so making speed from the trail. And it's kind of obviously extra speed because you will be using your pedals as well. And this is something that really takes you from beginner into intermediate, I think, because it makes it much easier to ride trails. If you can make speed from them, you become faster and you become smoother. Now, the most obvious place to show you how to do this is on a roller or on some jumps, because what you're looking to do is now to make yourself heavy. In that transition, especially from down to flat, so it's kind of worn away, but here, come over this roller, down to flat. If you make yourself heavy on this back side of the roller, you're gonna generate a little bit of speed. The great thing about this is you'll feel it when it happens. If you've got a pump track local to you or a BMX track, they are brilliant places to practice because it's a really simple skill, but it's all about getting that timing right. And when you do it nice and firmly, in that correct position, you'll feel that speed come, and all of a sudden you'll be able to ride around a BMX track without pedaling at all. So I'll show you how to do it first on these rollers and jumps, and then we'll take it to the natural trail. I think the best way to think about this is from your standing up tall position, using your hips to thrust your weight down and through your feet. You can feel the pressure in your feet. That is basically the pumping action, and then you need to do that at the right time, like I say, as transition goes from flat to down. Okay, so pumping's all about getting heavy. Next up, we're going to talk about getting light on the bike, and that's going to open up bits of trail like this, drop-offs for example, but also to help you be faster and smoother, a bit like pumping. When I talk about unweighting, what I really mean is starting to learn how to manual and then bunny hop your bike. So lifting wheels off the ground and using your weight to do it. So from your ready position, you can practice this pretty much anywhere. All you need to do for a manual is go down and back. Put a bit of momentum into that, and the front wheel is going to start to lift. So that is step one of really opening up what you can ride on your mountain bike. By unweighting the front wheel, you can start riding drop-offs and also start lifting your front wheel over roots and things to carry speed on the trail. Next step is the bunny hop. So from that position, standing up and forward. It takes a lot of practice this, and we've done some dedicated videos, so check those out. I think those last few points are actually really quite important. If you're a beginner or even intermediate and you're trying to up the level of trail you can ride, so up the technicality of it, learning where to pedal to get the best power to the ground but also stay safe without smashing your pedals into the ground, when to swap that out for pumping or even just to make extra speed from the trail, and then when you need to unweight, it really starts opening up the trails. So you can start riding trails that aren't actually rideable. You kind of make them rideable by hopping over those things, and you can really progress the level up to blacks or even double black trails. Okay, so there's 6 things I think you can do to level up your riding. If you're kind of new to mountain biking or there's something that you really specifically want to learn, jump into the comment section down below this video. I'll try and read those comments and reply to some, or even maybe make a video addressing some of those points. So yeah, get involved.